Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechViews and Up. And today I am going to talk about some orbital mechanics stuff, and this is a practical applications video, which means you'll be able to use it in real life, also in some games like Kerbal Space Program. And this is talking about delta V. Now, as far as things goes, what is delta V? Delta V in rockets does not tell you if you're going to get off the surface. That's the thrust versus weight ratio, as is shown in a previous video. But delta V tells you how far you're going to go. For example, delta V may tell you if you're going to go 2 inches off the ground or 3,000 meters off the ground. But calculating delta V is not that easy. I highly suggest that you use a scientific calculator in order to do it. I don't really know too many people who could do all this in their head pretty quickly. Maybe over a period of time, but not quickly. Now, as far as things goes, I have a handy notebook and a handy calculator. Now, with the delta V stuff, I've already figured out a lot of this, and somewhere on the screen that should show the formula as I show it here, and that way when this comes on and off you can still see this formula at almost all times. But for delta V to calculate it, you need to do several things. You need to first off figure out the total mass of the entire rocket with the fuel, and then, or before, it doesn't matter if you figure it out before or after, you need to figure out the total mass without the fuel. So as here it's M1 equals completely with the fuel and everything, which is 145.44, and without the fuel we got 223.95, so the entire weight's almost in fuel. Now you need to know the exhaust velocity of your stuff, of your engines, which is these guys. The exhaust velocity, how to figure that out, is using the universal gravity, which is 9.807 and or 9.81, and times that by the ISP, which is the specific impulse. And how do you figure all this out in Kerbal Space Program? Real quick, how to figure out the ISP. You can see it right here. The engine ISP in the atmosphere is 250, in space or vacuum is 350. And you don't count like 250 type of deal. All of these are 250. It's putting out the exact same level as 250. And given that this is going from atmosphere to space, we're doing an average, so about 280. I'll suggest putting it, if you're dealing with liquid engines, I'll suggest using the lower side unless there's a dramatic difference. I'll suggest using the lower side. That way you always have enough fuel in case if something goes wrong. So 250, but we're going to use 280 because that's about an average. And to figure out the total weight in Kerbal Space Program, as far as the fuel tanks, what you do is you subtract this one, or whatever the mass is right here, between the mass here and the mass here, and that gives you the mass without fuel, and then you add in everything else. So as you see here, when I subtract, in fact, let's do it so you know I'm not messing around. Let's put in, oops, sorry about that, 0.44, 145.44 minus, let's start using my keyboard, 54.67 minus 66.82, and that gives you the 23.95. So that's without fuel. and that's just the casing around here, the engines, the the capsule, all this other stuff, and if it was real, even the air inside the capsule, because they gotta breathe and you gotta take that with you, and that does weigh. So once you figure all that out, sorry about that. Once you figure all that out, what you need to do is take the M1, which is for this 145.44 divided by M2, which is without fuel, and so 23.95 equals that, and then we can do this, I mean, it doesn't matter, times that by ln, which is a algorithm, and this is in scientific calculators. Right here, it's right here, so just click that, and that gives you that. Or what you can do is click that, and it gives you the same thing, and then times the rest of it, the specific impulse, so 280 by 9.807 or 9.81. I prefer to do the exact numbers if possible. The specific impulse, I can't really, figure out where it's going to hit the atmosphere in space mark, so I'm just going to give a guess, because the thing is this is in the game, so things are a little different than real world. So where we would draw the line between space and atmosphere in the game is going to be different than real world. Also, it's better to have some leeway, so we can do that, and it gives us a specific impulse of 4,953. Now let's go back and do this number times 9.807 times it by the 250, and it's slightly under that. So from my understanding, in Kerbal Space Program, to get in space you need 4,500, and given that we're going from atmosphere to space, the 4,500 is beyond met, or it's very close if not. So let's do this again, so I can have the number and the L1 again, just trying to do a recap in case if I went too fast. Times that by the specific impulse. It doesn't matter if you want to times the specific impulse first at this point. Just remember, do this first, the ln times m1 divided by m2. So do m1 divided by m2, then times that by ln, and that will give you the answer. And I think I'd have to do 9.807. And as you see here, this part, it doesn't matter which comes first. It's just this needs to happen first. Simple enough. So let's go into space. Oh, and by the way, your thrust versus weight ratio needs to be 1 or more, and this will allow you to immediately take off. It's going to be very slow. The closer to 1 is, as far as Kerbal, the closer to 1 is, it's the slower of takeoff, original takeoff it's going to be. If you're on something like the moon or whatever planet, you need to have it more than the planet. So imagine that G, put like a G here, and since it's 1G on Kerbal or Earth, then this needs to be more than 1. If it's I can't remember how many G's are on the moon, but whatever amount of G's on the moon, it needs to be basically just put whatever and G, and it just has to be above that. That's the best way to really think about this thrust versus weight ratio thing. So let's head out there and let's see if we can get this into space, which is going to happen. I've done it on a previous video. Alright, and if you look at this, let's wait for it to load up. And let's turn on SAS or control. And this is where the thrust versus weight ratio comes in. It's very slow, but it is taking off, as you see. And as you see here, the SAS is keeping it straight. In other words, it'll be flying all over the place. Again, I'm going to leave a copy and paste to this formula below. Just remember, do ln first. In fact, I can just take out that, but do ln first, m1 divided by m2, and then do ln. In other words, this number is going to turn out completely different and turn out much more higher, and you most likely will get messed up. So it's important to note that. So, while we wait, one thing I want to mention is, again, thrust versus weight ratio. I covered this in the previous video. This number will go down to vehicle mass. The thrust versus weight ratio will go up. Means it's faster. And as long as the electricity holds out, we should be fine. And let's fast forward it, see what happens. It's pretty stable, it's not too many parts, so I don't think it's going to wobble all over the place. And I'm hoping that this gives a consistent drop. I don't know if it will. And as you see here, we're getting up there pretty good. Alright, we're getting up there really good now. And you can see that we're pretty much in orbit already. And we're in a vacuum. So if I wanted to, I can stop the thing right here. Add a maneuver. Oops. Messing around with the inclination, just trying to get as much delta V requirements out of this as possible. Doesn't matter. And you can see here the delta V required to do this maneuver is 1,823, and we should definitely, I don't know if we should cover that or not. No, we won't. We definitely won't be able to cover that. So let's make one that we can cover. Oops. And let's see, that's needs to be a little bit more. And that's pretty good. how much delta V does this take? There's a little more than we can give. And let's... I don't know if we could, but let's go try it. Let the autopilot take over. Use hyperedit, take this guy out if need to be. And I don't think we can, because I don't think we got enough delta V. Could be wrong. Because I mean, there's no way I can calculate it from here, because I have no way of actually measuring how much fuel we have and whatnot. We could easily have enough delta V. It's just that I don't trust these numbers that much. We might. Nope. As I said, we don't. So there's that. And I don't think I had anything to do with it. Yeah, it's just fuel that caused it. So again, we didn't have enough delta V, as I said. So that was important to note. Again, I don't really trust these numbers that much. So and they weren't even close, but still. That's important to note. So let's let this crash and burn, and take a plunge. Possibly. Wonder where it's gonna land. So basically, this is pretty much as far as the delta V. And the fire coming out of that. This is probably like the best way it can actually fall, because it's a lot of surface area. Even though it's horrible. So it's gonna go over here. And he's gonna die. And eventually they'll hit the ground. Or water, whatever. And I'll do a quick recap on what I said. In a second when we get back to the vehicle assembly. So that's that. Alright, let's head back to the vehicle assembly. And quick recap, pretty much when you're building your stuff, what you need is several things. You need the specific impulse, the total weight with fuel, total weight without fuel, how to get the total weights of the fuel, or total weights of everything, is the mass. Mass is, for example, this is 6.9. This 0.05 type of deal. Go to the fuels. Like right here is 135, and the, as we saw earlier, you just minus this, minus whatever fuel that's being dumped at that time. See, that's the thing. If you have your stuff in multiple stages, and say I got a second stage that's not going to be touched at all on the fuel, then I would not calculate that in within the first orbital maneuver. Say if I'm trying to make a orbital maneuver to put something in space, drop the first stage, and that way I have a second stage only in space, and the first stage doesn't matter, or meant the second stage doesn't matter. So I would just take out, if you're doing like a 1 or 2 stages to put your stuff in space, and you're still going to have a couple stages that's not touched at all, and you know that for a fact, then what you need to do is calculate your specific impulse, or calculate your weight towards the stages. And one good thing with having mech jab is it shows the actual delta V per stage. So for right here with stage 1, we have this. For stage 2, we have that. Well, actually, stage 1, which is this, with nothing turned on, and then real stage 1 with this. We got that. I think I got that right. Yeah. So that's a easy way to do it. And by the way, in case if you were wondering, this is representing in tons the mass. So that's an important part. You don't have to convert that over to kilograms or anything like that. So like you do with some of the other stuff. This is tons. The mass right here, and the mass everywhere it says mass, that's in tons. So just keep that in mind. And when you're dealing with your rocket outside, like a hobby rocket or whatnot, let me bring that up. So what you could do if you got like a hobby rocket or whatnot and trying to get that thing up, you can go to Google and put pound to ton or ton to pound, and you can put in, say you got like a 30-pound whatever, which is pretty big, and you can see that is 0.0515 ton, and you can get your calculations like that. So I got like a 30-pound rocket and 25 pounds of fuel, and you can see here. So this is a really good thing to use. You get in ounces and whatnot. So this is again a very good way to calculate for your hobby rockets and whatnot. Easy. So anyways, I'm not going to leave a link to that calculator, because you just go to Google and type in something to something to convert it. But anyways, this has been Craig Bennett, the founder and owner of Tech Reviews Now. If you got any questions or anything, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to help you out as soon as possible. Hope you have a great day.